and uncertainty. Let's take a look at some of the major headlines that we have for you today. In Washington, a long, weary standoff may finally be coming to an end as the United States is edging closer to resolving its record breaking government shutdown. And this is after 5 tenths week of silence, protests, and unpaid workers. The Senate has taken a crucial step that could bring the deadlock to a close and reopen the doors of government. Far from the corridors of power, the world's most formidable warship, the USS Gerald R. Ford, has entered the Caribbean. It is more than steel and speed, it's a symbol, a message of strength sent by Navy Strike Force whose arrival is stirring both reassurance and reflection across the region. We move now to Southwest where, in the mountains of southwest China, tragedy struck without warning. A newly built bridge at the hydropower station once held as a triumph of modern engineering has collapsed into the river below, sending concrete and steel plunging into the current, and also questions echoing across the nation. From Washington to Wuhan, from power politics to human stories, this is World News, bringing the pulse of a changing planet. Please stay tuned. Many thanks for staying tuned. We begin worldview from a national scene where the United States is moving closer to ending its record-breaking government shutdown after the Senate took a critical step towards ending its 5-week impasse. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, has instructed lawmakers to return to Washington after keeping the chambers out of session for more than 50 days. Let's take a listen to what the House Speaker had to say.
The end of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, as shameful as that is. I don't think it's coincidental, you know how I think, but it's after 40 days of wandering in the wilderness and making the American people suffer needlessly, some Senate Democrats finally have stepped forward to end the pain. It appears to us this morning that our long national nightmare is finally coming to an end, and we're grateful for that. The people's government cannot be held hostage to further anyone's political agenda. That was never right. And shutting down the government never produces anything. It never has, if you study history. And so here we are, to reduce the oppressive costs of health care under the Unaffordable Care Act. We just made clear that we would not and should not ever do that, that is, negotiate as hostages. And I've also reminded you here every morning that this Republicans have not just been in so many areas and in healthcare, we've been actually passing new laws to accomplish that urgent mission for the people.
The upper chambers of Congress on Monday night approved the spending package by a vote of 60 to 40 to fund the U.S. government through January 30 and reinstate pay for hundreds of thousands of federal workers. A splinter group of Senate Democrats joined with Republicans to advance legislation that would fund the federal government through the end of January without extending the tax credit. The move sparked a furious backlash among Democrats, many of whom have called the plan a betrayal. Influential progressive groups have even called for Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, to resign.
On this vote, the ayes are 60, the nays are 40. The bill as amended is passed. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table.
This has been a very long road, quite literally the longest shutdown in history. I am very, very happy to be able to say that we are coming to the end. And before we close today, I want to take the time to say thank you to my staff who have worked around the clock tirelessly now for the past 6 weeks.
Voted to start reopening the government. We took a big step forward to protect the health care of tens of millions of Americans in exchange for funding through January 31st.
This agreement funds SNAP and food assistance programs, ensures that law enforcement, air traffic controllers, and other federal workers get paid, reverses the president's recent reckless layoffs and prevents them from happening in the future, and crucially, gives Congress a clear path forward to protecting people's health care.
As of this morning, there was a 0 chance of having a work on the ACA. Now there's a measurable chance. Will it be everything that everybody wanted? No, because we need 60 votes. And so there's going to be a negotiation.
In the meantime, the U.S. Navy has confirmed that a U.S. naval strike force centered around the world's largest warship, that is, the USS Gerald R. Ford, has arrived in the Caribbean. The arrival of the strike group, which was ordered to the region by the President Donald Trump last month, comes amid ongoing strikes against alert drug boats and tensions with Venezuela. The U.S. has so far carried out at least 19 strikes against boats in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific, killing at least 76 people. Venezuelan's President Nicolas Maduro and other Venezuelan officials have accused the U.S. of fabricating a crisis and seeking to topple the country's left-wing socialist government. In a statement, the U.S. Navy said that the strike group entered the area of responsibility of U.S. Southern Command, which oversees Latin America and the Caribbean, on November the 11th. The force includes the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier, which itself includes more than 4,000 sailors and dozens of aircraft. The strike force also includes guided missile destroyers and various other vessels. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell said that the force will bolster U.S. capacity to detect, monitor, and disrupt illicit actors and activities that disrupt the safety and prosperity of the U.S. and will help disrupt narcotic trafficking and criminal groups in the region. In the meantime, reports say that Venezuela is deploying weapons, including decades-old Russian-made equipment, and is planning to mount a guerrilla-style resistance or sow chaos in the event of a U.S. air or ground attack. The approach is a tactic admission of the South American country's shortage of personnel and equipment. U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested the possibility of ground operations in Venezuela, saying the land is going to be next, following multiple strikes on alert drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean and a large U.S. military buildup in the region. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who has been in power since 2013, says Trump is seeking to oust him, but Venezuelan citizens and the military will resist any such attempt. Still in the Caribbean, the country's foreign minister, Jean-Noel Barrot, has said that France is worried about U.S. military operations in the Caribbean because they violate international law. The U.S. military has carried out at least 19 strikes so far against suspected drug vessels in the Caribbean and off the Pacific coast of Latin America, killing at least 76 people. Barrot said on the sidelines of the Group of 7 Foreign Ministers Summit in Canada that they have observed with concern the military operations in the Caribbean region, adding that they violate international law, also stressing that France has a presence in the region through its overseas territories where more than 1 million of their compatriots reside. In a separate development, President Donald Trump participated in a wreath-laying ceremony on Tuesday at Arlington National Cemetery to commemorate Veteran Day and honor the nation's fallen service members. He was joined by Vice President J.D. Vance and Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins.
Shoulders. Each of you has earned the respect and the gratitude of our entire nation. We love you, we salute you, and we will never forget what you have done to keep America safe, sovereign, and free. Thank you very much. The pages of American history are filled with the tales of titans, icons, innovators, and trailblazers who built this country into the greatest, most ambitious, and most prosperous nation the world has ever seen. And we brought it to new levels. I'll tell you, we were going in a direction for a period of time, but we've never been hotter than we are right now. This is the hottest country anywhere in the world. Yet every captain of industry, every pioneer of science, and every star whose brilliance has lit up the lights of Broadway all share one.
Also speaking was U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, a Marine veteran, encouraged attendees to thank a veteran for their service and sacrifice.
Let me just give three very brief messages. First, to our nation's veterans, thank you. Thank you for serving and sacrificing. We've all got so many good stories of people that we served with over the years. During my 4 years of the Marine Corps, I met the very best of America, people who are willing to put on a uniform and risk their lives for their entire country. Just yesterday morning, I met people who lost limbs, who lost very, very important family members, who lost their psychological health, going out there and serving the United States of America. So to every elected official who's here today, our obligation, our sacred responsibility to our veterans is to make sure that the American military is the bravest and best fighting force anywhere in the world, and to make sure that every time we ask our nation.
Meanwhile, Arlington National Cemetery holds over 400,000 graves, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, Coast Guardmen and their families. The dead there represent a major conflict in which the United States has fought. In a related development, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban has said that with funding worth up to $20 billion now available, Hungary could choose from 4 or 5 facilities to shore up its finance under an agreement with Washington. Right-wing Orban, who faces an election next year, met with his longtime ally, U.S. President Donald Trump, at the White House on Friday, securing a waiver from U.S. sanctions for using Russian energy, a deal that has bolstered the foreign.
Working. What is the consequence of that? We are under sanctions, financial sanctions of European Union, because we don't let the illegal migrations to come to Hungary and to the European Union as well. So we have to pay, just to inform you, we have to pay every day 1 million euro as a punishment to the Brazilian budget because we stopped the migrants. This is the absurd world we are living now in Europe.
The currency eased on Tuesday after Hungary raised its budget deficit target to 5% for this year and next, with higher spending ahead of the tightly contested ballot upending deficit reduction plans. In a sad development, a Turkish C-130 military cargo plane with at least 20 personnel on board crashed in Georgia after taking off from Azerbaijan, but the number of casualties and the cause of the incident were not immediately clear. Footage circulating on social media appeared to show the plane corkscrewing towards the earth and then bursting into flames. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan interrupted a speech in Ankara to offer condolences for the martyrs, a term he regularly uses to describe not only combat death but also service personnel killed in the course of their general duties. In this next report, the mastermind of a advanced Ponzi scheme in China, which conned nearly 130,000 investors, was jailed in Britain on Tuesday for over 11 years for laundering the proceeds of the fraud into cryptocurrency, now worth billions of dollars. Guang Jimin pleaded guilty to 2 money laundering charges in September after an investigation during which British police seized more than 61,000 Bitcoin, currently worth over $6 billion, in one of the largest ever cryptocurrency seizures. Prosecutors said Guang and her co-conspirators spent more than $13.34 million on jewelries from the proceeds of the fraud. While the criminal proceedings are finished, there remains a looming legal battle over the fate of the seized Bitcoin and how the victims of the fraud are repaid, with British prosecutors mulling a compensation scheme for victims. In the meantime, now according to reports received from Chinese state media, a massive breach at a hydropower station in southwest China collapsed yesterday, sending concrete and steel plunging into a river just months after it opened. Reports say that an official from Bagram County confirmed the collapse to the Chinese state-run Global Times, saying no casualties has been reported. The report also added that cracks were detected a day early on the bridge roadside surface and slope, prompting authorities to impose temporary traffic controls. Footage of the collapse shared widely on social media showed a bridge in province buckling before falling into the river below, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. In a separate development, Catherine Connolly has said she will make sure all voices are nurtured and heard during her presidency. Let's take a listen.
President of this beautiful country. The people have spoken and have given their president a powerful mandate to articulate their vision for a new republic. A republic worthy of its name, where everyone is valued and diversity is cherished, where sustainable solutions are urgently implemented, and where a home is a fundamental human right. I stand before you humbly and proudly as the 10th president of this beautiful country. The people have spoken and have given their president a powerful mandate to articulate their vision for a new republic. A republic worthy of its name, where everyone is valued and diversity is cherished, where sustainable solutions are urgently implemented.
Speaking at Dublin Castle, where she was inaugurated as the 10th President of the Republic of Ireland, she said the country has been undergoing seismic changes since the end of the Cold War.
Worthy of its name. I will ensure that all voices are represented, heard and valued, and promote a public discourse that nourishes inclusivity, tolerance and active citizenship. As I assume the privilege of office, we face existential threat of climate change and the threat of ongoing wars. Both, of course, are inextricably linked.
As I speak, I am acutely conscious of the 165 million people currently forcibly displaced from their homes and countries due to war, famine, and climate change. We cannot turn back the clock. I have never believed more in the spirit of this country. Having travelled the length and breadth of the island, I have witnessed it in every county, in every corner of Ireland. I've heard it in the music, the literature, and the dance of our people, in the deep tradition of solidarity and decency that continues to be the dominant force behind our people. I have felt it in the...
She also added that she looked forward to her first visit to Northern Ireland as president and that she will foster an inclusive dialogue across the island. It will be recalled that Connolly was elected in a landslide vote at the end of October, defeating Fine Gael candidate Heather Humphrey. In her speech, she said, "Our action today will shape the world our grandchildren will inherit." We'll take a quick break right now. When we return, Worldview continues. Many thanks for staying tuned. We move now to Africa, where Nigeria's anti-narcotic agency is working with its US and British counterpart to investigate the origin of $235 million cocaine shipment seized at Lagos Tinkan port in one of the country's largest drug holes. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, said in a statement that 1,000 kilograms of cocaine was discovered in an empty container at the terminal over the weekend. Terminal operators alerted the NDLEA and other port security agencies, which jointly examined the consignment. The drugs were formally handed over to the NDLEA on Tuesday after tests confirmed the substance was cocaine. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and the UK's National Crime Agency joined the investigation at the invitation of the Nigerian government. Still in Africa, Ethiopia urged Nigeria to emerge as a host country for the 2027 Climate Summit. The East African country also hosted this year's African Climate Summit in September. Dubbed the African Cup, the summit is expected to center Africans' role in advancing climate justice and solutions. African countries, which are disproportionately affected by climate change, despite their negligible contribution to greenhouse gas emissions, have long demanded that developed countries pay more for adaptation and mitigation. This year's summit, COP30, opened Monday in Belém, Brazil, with a call to world leaders and delegates to confront rising global temperatures and push for urgent coordinated climate action. In the meantime, protesters carrying signs reading "Our forests are not for sale" broke through security lines of the COP30 climate talks on Tuesday night in Belém, Brazil. Reports say some journalists saw United Nations security staff running behind a line of Brazilian soldiers, shouting at delegates to immediately leave the venue. The UN told newsmen that the incident caused minor injuries to 2 security staff, in addition to limited damage to the venue. Social media videos showed protesters that appeared to be from indigenous groups and others waving flags with the logo of a left-wing Brazilian youth movement called Juntos.
Ação governo é uma forma de defender, né, o espaço aonde está sendo sediado, entendeu? Esse momento aqui. Mas para nós é um momento de revolta, é um momento de indignação, é um momento em que nós, indígenas,
Some protesters were seen wearing what appeared to be traditional indigenous dress, stormed the COP30 entrance, chanting and kicking down doors before tussling with security personnel. Video posted online showed. Demonstrators crossed the first security barriers of the venue and were then prevented from getting further in. According to the UN, it is a highly unusual security breach at a conference that has strict protocols. Brazilians and UN authorities are investigating the cause of the incident. And that's all we have for you on Worldview today. Do ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Worldview on Spectrum TV. I am Emedion James. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.